Right. Hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a few announcements I just want to start out with. I know Frank was grabbing a glass of water, so he should be back any minute now. But thanks for joining us for Grow Your Bungalow, the ins and outs of attic expansion. Sorry, this is my cat. Just to start off with a few things that we have coming up in May. Our next two webinars are May 16th, which is stripping and refinishing your wood interiors, and May 23rd, protecting your property for the future. Both of these were just posted on our website today, so you can check out more details there. And the way we run this, just for folks who haven't been with our webinars before, we are recording tonight. You will not be on the screen anywhere. You'll be muted the whole time. But we do have a Q&A down at the bottom of the page. You might need to sort of hover over the bottom of the screen, and a Q&A box should pop up. Questions that you have along the way as Frank is giving his presentation, you're just going to want to plunk into there, and we're going to take questions at the end. Frank's going to talk for about 45 minutes, and then we're going to have 15 minutes at the end for questions, so we'll wrap up right around 7 o'clock. We might go a minute or two over, but just keep that in mind. The good thing is, if you don't get your question in, you can actually email Frank after this, and he's been really generous in offering to, respond to you as he's able to after that and get your questions answered. So again, 45 minutes and 15-minute Q&A at the end. The chat is disabled for you guys, so don't put anything in the chat, please. I think Angela just put a little message so you know where to plunk your questions. We're also going to be sending out an email after this. So if you signed up for tonight, you're going to get an email with a link to the recording. And this recording is also it's also on Facebook right now. It'll be on our Facebook page. It'll live there. It'll also live on our website, but you'll also get an email with a link. And also with that link, you'll get any other materials that might come up during the presentation. Sometimes something is referenced, so we'll stick anything like that in there as well. Frank, are you with us yet? You are muted, and I can't see you if you are. So
I am here.
Okay, great. Your video is also turned off, just so you know. So you're kind of the great Oz right now, just sort of blinking when you speak. So you might want to put your video on as well.
Okay, I can't turn my video on. It's saying that the host has stopped my video.
Oh, okay. Angela, would you mind? There we go.
All right.
Okay. Great. Well, this is Frank, who I'm about to introduce properly. So 13 years ago, Frank founded Northlight Architects in order to work more closely and directly with clients who seek both a creative and steady partner in the architectural design process. Since then, Frank has collaborated with numerous homeowners who've needed a trusted guide and expert through the design build process. A registered architect in the state of Illinois and Ohio, he's LEED accredited and currently is chair of the Small Firm Exchange in the American Institute of Architects Chicago chapter, and also has been active with the Construction Specifications Institute, where he served as a board member from 2002 to 2006. He's also a City of Chicago registered energy professional. Mr. Michalski received his master's degree from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where he was a recipient of the Ryerson Traveling Fellowship. And he's also one of the architects who created design schemes in the Chicago Bungalow Association's Bungalow Expansion Project, which were beautiful. So Frank's been a partner of ours for years now, and we're really happy to have him doing this webinar. Thank you so much for that. And with that, I can turn it over to you if you'd like to start presenting.
Okay, great. Thank you for that introduction. I won't repeat any of the information, so we can get going. So can you see my screen? So
Yep,
I'm
you can see it. Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to get into the talk tonight to talk about attic. See, let me adjust here. Here, the title of my talk: Grow Your Bungalow, Ins and Outs of Attic Expansion. And I'm going to be talking about different subjects. Some are a little more dry than others, but there are a number of factors that usually come into play when you're doing an attic expansion. We're going to look at the zoning and the building code, how that affects the space that you add, aesthetic concerns, what it looks like. We're going to look at a couple of projects I worked on and discuss the functional layout issues that come up, the structural reinforcement of either the attic floor joist or a rear porch. Stairs can be a problem in these bungalows, as you know, so sometimes we keep them in the same spot, sometimes relocate. Energy considerations and heating and cooling options as a subject. And then we're just going to take a quick look at the plumbing and water service. So I'll get started with the zoning and building code. So the way the city is set up is every lot and neighborhood is organized under a zoning district. And usually the bungalows are in RS3, RS2, sometimes RS1 district. And the districts have different requirements for the bulk, for how tall a building can be, how large it can be, side setbacks, etc., along with other considerations. But those are some of the things we're going to be looking at. So many of the bungalows are like in RS2, RS3. The zoning code limits the front setback for your addition. If you're doing a second floor addition, and front setback is usually the average between the two lots on either side. This drawing only shows one, but it takes the two lots on either side, and the average setback of that is what you have to follow. The rear setback is a percentage. This diagram is from a real client, and he's on a 100-foot deep lot, and his existing bungalow actually already encroaches into the rear yard setback. So if we are doing a second floor addition on this, we're going to have to either respect that or try to go in for some type of zoning relief. So front setback, rear setback, side setbacks, that's also a ratio of the lot width and where the property lines are. There are kind of two limitations. One is the total side yard setback, and in an RS2 it's 30%, which was where this project is. And then there's also a minimum side yard setback that has to be adhered to. And sometimes the existing bungalow that I'm working on is already, again, it's existing non-conforming, already encroaching into those side yard setbacks. So either the addition has to be in from the exterior walls, or else we apply for a zoning relief, usually through the administrative adjustment process. Then there is what we architects refer to as FAR, floor area ratio. This is a percentage of your lot size. And again, I've got the chart on the three main zoning districts where the bungalows usually are. And so the lower the district, the less amount you can build. However, usually in RS1 district, the lots are a larger size, but the RS3 is a 90%, RS2 is 65%. So that's another factor that can limit the size of the bungalow. Just a little explanation what counts in the floor area ratio. The square footage of the basement counts if more than 50% is above grade. So if the basement is more out of the ground than in it, it counts in the square footage. So it counts against you if you're trying to do a second floor addition and maximize your square footage. If it's more below grade, then it doesn't count. If the ceiling height is 6'9" or less, it also doesn't count. And then in attics, the only square footage that counts is where the ceiling height is 6'9" or more. So this extra space that you have, kind of your knee wall space, does not count in that floor area ratio. Just in case you're in a situation where you're in an RS1, you want to do a certain size addition, and you kind of look at all these different factors which tell you how large it can be. Then aside from the zoning code, which is one book, there is the building code, which is a very, and it was revised in 2019. And this also has some limitations on building height and building area, though I find that the zoning code usually controls that most. And then the building code deals with many things, but one of the important ones are the fire resistive requirements. And construction, when a second floor addition is built, in this drawing on the left, I don't know how many of you can really understand this. This is like a cross section through the second floor addition, and the what we architects call the wall assembly. The wall construction has to meet a certain fire rating by a UL standard. So this table 601, it tells us that if it's a 5A, which is like a typical wood frame construction, that the exterior walls have to be 1 hour, the roof has to be 1 hour, with some exceptions. If it's 3A or B, which is usually a brick wall, these are the fire ratings for that. So when you're constructing your addition, you have to adhere you have to meet these fire ratings. Then another thing that determines this fire rating or this construction is how far the wall is away from the property line, and that is called the fire separation distance in the code. And if it is less than 3 feet from the property line, so if you're building a second floor addition that is maybe 2.5 feet from the side property line, then that wall has to have a 2-hour rating to it. So that means extra fire rated gypsum board or extra sheathing on the outside. And if it's within 3 and 5, it's 1 hour. So all these code requirements all kind of happen at the same time. So as an architect, you have to kind of look at them all and see which one controls your situation. A part of the revised building code in 2019 had to do with the square footage of windows allowed. And this was more in line with the international building code, which Chicago now is more aligned with. International building code is more a national code. So if, again, you're building maybe a second floor addition, and if it just so happens that your existing building is less than 2 feet from your side property line, you can't have any windows. So if you wanted to have a bedroom here or something, you would maybe have to add operable skylights. If it's between 2 feet and 3 feet, the code allows only 5% of windows. So it's not very much, but at least there would be some light and ventilation. And then if you are 3 feet or more from the side property line, which is more usual, you're allowed more square footage of windows, 25%. So these two upper ones just occur sometimes in like more hardship cases where the lot's very narrow or the existing building is wider. But it's another thing to be aware of. So that's some code issues that will limit, the size of your addition, how big it is, and setbacks, etc. There's also the aesthetic concern, which is not so much governed by any codes, but just trying to keep the aesthetic of the bungalow in mind whenever you're doing an addition. There are the Chicago Bungalow Association guidelines that are already in place that I always try to follow, where the additions are compatible in material, style, and proportions. If you're doing a second floor addition, try and have it set back 20 feet from the front, so it doesn't intrude on the front part of the bungalow. Dormers and additions with similar roof pitch, matching roof pitch and height, and window openings, trim, and eaves and details, trying to have them match the existing building, so the design blends together. So what I'm going to do now is run through some photos and some examples of bungalows that either do meet the guidelines or that step outside of them, and just what that looks like. So additions that are compatible. These two additions are set back from the front. The one on the left was a project I was involved in, and the one on the right was one that I just saw as I was driving around, and I thought it was a very nice addition. It's set back from the front. It's a little bit darker color, so there's contrast from the original building, and then this little roof slope detail is also matched on the addition. The window is red, which is a little bit of a creative license, but I think that's okay because the overall form of the bungalow addition does not overpower the existing front. So these are compatible. Here's some examples that I've seen where I think that the existing building is just too close to the front. This shows the opposite of the 20 feet back, and it just kind of crowds the original building, so that it's breathing down its neck, and it's not exactly a happy result in my opinion. So those are a few examples where it was too close. Here's examples, a couple of examples where there's a matching roof line. This addition on the right is one that I just photographed. Might not exactly be 20 feet back, but I feel that the roof material and the roof slope and the fact that it still is somewhat back, it is compatible with the original building. The one on the left is a project I was involved in where we did kind of a cross gable and just tried to have it set back from the front. Materials that match the siding, that matches the addition and the front dormer and the gable and the roofing, so that it all appears as if this was maybe even done at one time. And here's an example of a couple of bungalows I saw in my travels that I just feel are a bit too tall. They're not as far out in front as those other three examples. They're set back a bit, and there's even some attempt at, the roof slope is similar. Materials are not bad, but again, when I look at these, it just seems like there's sort of a fight going on between the original structure and what was added. And I think that that addition should be just a little bit lower. Here's some that I still think are somewhat compatible. The one on the left, just a photograph of a building I took. It's out to the front somewhat, but I still think that the pitch of the roof material, the color, the colors are all the same. So at least there's some compatibility and harmony going on there. The one on the right was another one that I just happened to drive by, and in this one, the attic expansion is defined by different dormer shapes. A shape here that kind of relates to those three windows, so there's some conversation there, and then a lower dormer on the back, this dormer on the front. So even though this is somewhat different, I feel that the scale of these elements and the blending, it all is not really taking away from the original bungalow. And then, of course, there's all of these, and I know the Bungalow Association is against pop tops and has probably had other talks about it, but these are some that I saw where it's just really not a bungalow anymore. These are second floor additions, and some are just not very successful. This one, which is not very tall, super low slope roof, different colors. This has changed. They've made an attempt here. They have a bay window, and it kind of matches that bay window. So I mean, some of these comments I'm making are subjective. There isn't exactly like, oh, this is all bad or this is all good. But in general, I think that things that don't really work with the existing bungalow are not that good. This one on the right that I saw, I'm just not sure what exactly is going on here. They did kind of a full second floor addition that they pulled back, and they had some geometric windows, and some people might think that's interesting, but just my opinion, I find it to be too overpowering to the original building. So not a successful addition in my eyes. So those are some aesthetic concerns when you're working with an architect or a builder, however you're doing your project. I always encourage you, and what I always do with my clients is to just look at different options for how we could make the attic expansion look. So I usually like to look at maybe repeating a dormer form on the side. Here's with two dormers and a flat area. You can also look at just a simple shed. Of course, there are always cost implications for whatever roof framing. This is going to be more expensive for the contractor to frame all this up than to just do a simple shed roof, or you can do a combination where there's maybe a dormer in the front part, and you can do a shed in the back. Little bit of cost savings there, but it's always good to look at different options. And actually, on this third scheme, I just want to mention the roof is a little taller, so it's nice if you can keep your roof line the same, but it is not always possible to get the proper ceiling height on the second floor. So sometimes the roof may have to sort of pop up, but you try to mask it or have it work in a way so it doesn't really detract from the impact of the original bungalow. Here's again just another example, and these three options are not really all that different, but it just shows how this was a client I was working with, and he just had a certain amount of square footage that he needed. So we could either do that as just one rectangular form with a hip roof that kind of matched the hip roof of the original building, or we could just move one of the walls forward or back so that you get a variation and it breaks up this front hip. You can also start to match certain details on the dormers. Here we slipped the wall like in the second scheme, but also added that. So each small change that you make can make the impact of the design, work in different ways. So I always encourage everyone to look at as many options as possible. Okay, so that's aesthetic concerns, which really kind of dealt with the outside and the appearance from the outside. I'd like to just run through some projects that I've worked on dealing with sort of the inside of these bungalows and dealing with some of the functionality of the spaces. And I see it's 6:30, so I'll try moving through these. So this project was where we just did a kind of a very simple cross addition on the second floor. The first floor had, and I'll talk about stairs a little more later, the first floor had stairs to the attic off of the kitchen, which took space away. And in the renovation, we turned them into the dining room, closed that off so that we could get more kitchen counter. And then on the second floor, originally, the attic just had 2 bedrooms, kind of a open multi-purpose area and a storage closet. But with the second floor addition, we were able to get full ceiling height bathroom here and full ceiling height closet with storage on each side. And then the bedrooms really stayed the same, though the finishes were upgraded. This project had some of these bungalows sometimes the stairs will be kind of confusing. There were stairs to the basement kind of off of the front entry that were added at a later time. So this whole front part of the first floor was really not that usable. And then there were winder stairs going up to the attic, and they had kind of an open area, an overlook on the attic, which was somewhat interesting. But the fact that we have these stairs here and these stairs here, and then there was a rear porch with stairs going up and down. So what we did, sometimes you can consolidate your stairs. We did a central stair, regained all of this space for living and dining, created a walk-in pantry off the kitchen, kept the bathroom the same. And then on the second floor, it was just kind of a rough, raw attic space. And they wanted a master bedroom suite. And what we did here, there was a second bedroom. We had kind of a powder room that this bedroom could use. with just the toilet and the sink, and then there was a more private shower and vanity for the master bedroom with his and her closets, and then kind of an open area in the front. So trying to clean up the stairs, get more space, and just have the bungalow function a little bit better. Here was one where there was kind of a rear sunroom, a porch, but it was not really connected to the kitchen. There was just a door and there was a window here. And what the client wanted was to expand that a little bit and create a more open area with the kitchen and eating area, and also a connection to the backyard, because sometimes these bungalows will, you'll have the kitchen here, then you'll have kind of a porch, and there really isn't a great connection. The second floor, there were 2 bedrooms, but the owner wanted a master bedroom suite, so we built out on the back master bedroom, bathroom, and walk-in closet. And this bungalow, and I know we're looking at floor plans, and hopefully everyone is comfortable enough to kind of understand, as architects, we work with these all the time. So, but if it's hard to understand, you just have to try to see what the rooms are and what the use was originally and what the new use is. This bungalow is one where the ridge is kind of in the middle, and it slopes up from the front and then it slopes back. So in this addition, this back part was storage, so it sloped back, wasn't really useful, and then we added kind of a cross gabled dormer on the back, and this is a view from the kitchen out to this new sunroom area here. So I'll keep this moving. Here's one, another one, I guess, that has the bungalow or the roof, from front to back. Original bungalow, the kitchen, again, kind of isolated from the backyard. There was a room in this corner that may have been a bedroom when it was built, but it was being used as a family room. And again, that was separated from the kitchen and the rest of the house. So what the client did was we just removed this wall, installed a beam, and had an open area, as you can see in this photo here, from the kitchen to kind of a family room, and then an eating area. The front of the house was kept the same, the formal living, formal dining, formal sunroom. Upstairs, there was a small dormer on the back and 2 bedrooms. And there was a hallway running down the middle leading to like this attic storage. So the space was not really well utilized, only 1 bathroom. The client expanded the dormer, like you can see in this photo here, made it wider than the original one. Wider than the original one was, and then added a master bath. This was kind of tucked under the roof, and then there was enough ceiling height to add a shower and a double vanity and a master bedroom. Okay, so that was some internal functional changes that can happen when you're adding on to a second floor. One thing that will come up is structural reinforcement, and this is a section through a building. So like a big knife is sort of cut through your bungalow, and you can see your attic and your first floor and your basement. And most of the time, the existing floor joists in the attic are 2x6s, which are not really adequate to meet the current building code for either the loads in the bedrooms, or if the roof load is going to be transferred down, the snow load. So the original building, which works fine when this is just kind of a, a storage area or a raw attic, when you're adding a second floor, there's a couple approaches, and there might be others, but one is to what we refer to sometimes as sistering a 2x10 joist, so a deeper joist that is attached to the existing 2x6 to increase the strength. And not always, but with some houses, then it adds extra load to this beam, to this wood beam and the posts in the basement. And sometimes that just needs to be reinforced, or some clients will replace that with a steel beam. There is another method where you could use wood trusses, which is a structural element that is built up of small sections of wood, and that can span from outside wall to outside wall, so that there really isn't any additional load on the middle of the building. The trusses allow space to run electrical and plumbing. So those are two approaches to, when you're doing a second floor addition, sometimes you have to go through this process. Of course, raising the floor also changes the stairs. Another area that really needs reinforcement are the rear porch structures, depending on what their planned use is. I mean, this is a classic rear porch where the roof and the rear dormer is supported on the rear porch structure, but when you look underneath at it, it's just maybe a couple of wood beams and a couple of posts at the corner. Sometimes this floor structure I referred to the attic 2x6s. Sometimes this might be smaller lumber, or the spacing is greater. So again, this kind of framing is not going to meet the current building code, so it has to be reinforced or replaced. And sometimes the porch, or in this case, this is a one-story bungalow, and the porch structure, again, this is not the right size for the roof rafters, and then the walls, there aren't really walls, it's just these beams attached to the brick wall, and there's a post here going down to maybe a post on the lower level, and what is infilling this are just some studs and a wood 1-inch paneling system. So it's not really a structure as it stands right now that you can just insulate and finish, because it's not going to work with the codes. So this was the example where we added the master bedroom suite on the back of the bungalow, and then this was the new eating area and kitchen, and the old porch structure was removed and a new concrete foundation was poured. So all of this meets current codes. It's sound construction. It can be insulated properly, and it's a good structure. Moving along with stairs, I'll try and go through this quickly. Stairs are another problem that some of my clients have, where they're too steep. Some stairs from the kitchen to the attic are almost like walking up a ladder or whatever. Building code requirements, a couple of them, a tread minimum of 9 inches. I mean, 10 inches is maybe more comfortable, but in Chicago, you can go down to 9 inches, a riser maximum of 8 inches. Again, it's nicer if it's maybe 7 or 7.5 or something, but in Chicago, you can go up to 8, and then stairs should be 36 inches wide. So many times the existing stairs do not meet these at all, and they either need to be totally replaced or changed somehow. And sometimes that means adding more winders and adding more stairs, especially if we're changing the structure of the second floor. So here's a couple examples. This was one a project that we talked about before with the change of the stairs so that they're not accessed from the kitchen. So it increases the usage of the kitchen. And then this is how it comes down in the dining room. And it did extend 3 steps into the dining room, but I've since visited this house, and the dining room table fits there and the family works with it. So these stairs do meet the code. They're comfortable to go up and down, and it just extends into the dining room a bit. This was a project where the original stairs were way too tight, not 36 inches wide. There was a closet behind the stairs for this bedroom, and then there was a small opening into this back hall. So what we did here was we just rebuilt these stairs, made them the proper width. So this wall of the dining room is actually bumped in about 6 or 8 inches so that they can be the right width. Took out this closet so we can get comfortable riser, tread and risers, added a closet here, and then opened up what was this back little hall now is nice and wide. You can see the stairs going up to the attic, a little bit of railing detail. This is a photo of the stairs from the second floor. And this was a project, a bungalow edition, and sometimes it works out better to maybe just totally relocate them. This is one of these classic bungalows where there's in the kitchen there are 2 doors. One door for stairs to go up to the attic with winders and very narrow stairs. One to go down in the basement. So all of this space is kind of not really functional for the kitchen, and in reworking it, it's just kind of in the wrong location. So what we did for this client was we just relocated them, created kind of a back stair hall so that we could get a nice large kitchen, open it up to the dining room and the family room. We removed a portion of this brick wall, installed a steel beam here, so that this was more open. And I don't have any little photos of that. I guess I could have, but I wanted to show the stair hall going up to the second floor. And this was a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, a master bedroom suite, and then a hall bath. And so these are the new stairs going up, meet code. They provide a little bit of storage. There's a closet and some storage along the side. So that's a stair issue. We're already 6:45, but I'll make the rest quick. When you're doing these, attic renovation, it's always a great idea to consider energy. So you can do some air sealing in the attic, where you seal up where the exterior wall meets the floor and the roof. around light fixtures, around openings. So you tighten up the energy usage. Add insulation. If you're at, again, if you're doing an addition, of course, you would add insulation in the addition, but you should also try to do it as much as possible in the rest of the existing attic. Either spray insulation, which is shown in this photo, or batt insulation. We talked about changing the structure of the floor joist. So if we're going to sister 2x10s to 2x6s, we're going to remove the floor. So there's an opportunity to install some insulation at that floor connection. And then you can even go in and air seal and insulate on the first floor, if that makes sense, with the project, so that you're improving the energy efficiency. And if you're going to be replacing, or let me reword that. It's a good idea if you're doing a major project, if you replace your existing furnace or boiler with a high efficiency type or a hot water heater. Let's just talk about heating and cooling a little bit. For bungalows, classic, and I like radiator heat. I think some bungalow owners like it. Radiant heat, if you're doing a renovation project, you can keep the radiators, maybe upgrade or change out the existing boiler. And if you're adding space on the second floor, you can just add new radiators, maybe with a larger boiler or a zoned boiler. So you can keep the radiant heat, which some clients like. Some of the bungalows have a forced air system in them. They don't have radiators. So if some of my clients are doing a second floor addition, they will install a second furnace up on the second floor, because the heating and cooling demands for a second floor and the first floor in the basement are totally different. And in this bungalow addition example, we created a laundry room, furnace room, utility room, and then ran the ducts through the attic space above the ceiling, and even into the existing the bedroom in the front, which we kept the same. Cooling can be an issue. I talked about the radiant heat system, which is a great option for heating. But this was the bungalow project where we changed the stairs and did the bathroom and the storage closet, and we installed a space pack high velocity duct system, which you can see a little photograph of here. The ducts are actually relatively small, 2 inches plus insulation, and they installed a space pack on the second floor, which then also cooled the first floor, which they never had before. So sometimes you will see just this little port, this little circular the port like in the corner of the ceiling. So in this project, this was the front living room, the unit was here, and the ducts kind of ran around the attic addition and served the spaces down below, as well as the existing rooms. There's also a mini split option out there with a heat pump. This is an example from what a client did recently. Aside from these kind of wall-mounted mini splits, I also worked on a project where we utilized units that were above the ceiling. And then this is the heat pump outside. Plumbing concerns, just real briefly, in laying out a lot of these bungalows on the second floor. I just always try to put the new bathrooms directly above the first floor bathrooms, so the plumbing, the water, and the waste can just be connected. Or even if you do sometimes have, in this example, there's a shower in the lab, we can run that piping in the attic floor and then get down to the existing. Lastly, sometimes you may have to increase the size of your water service if you're adding, especially if you're doing a master and a hall bath on the second floor. This is an example. Us architects, we look at the plumbing fixture count, what you have, how much you're adding, and if it adds more capacity than you have, or demand, then you have to increase that water side. So I know that was more than 45 minutes. Sorry about that, but I just wanted to kind of get through everything. Those are many of the issues that I deal with my clients in attic additions. So I don't know if I should stop share.
Sure, yeah. You might want to pull things up at some point. You can just reshare. Thank you for that. That was great. You know, people are always asking if they should hire an architect or trying to get around hiring an architect for complicated things. And this is a really good breakdown of why it's nice to hire an architect. However, I mean, just like the beginning, it's complicated stuff, you know, trying to fit in all the zoning. So, so thanks for that. I thought it was really helpful just to see and have that explained.
Sure.
So yeah, let's flip through as many of these questions. You know, we can go, you know, we'll go a little bit over 7 o'clock just to get through as many of these as we can. Our good friend Manuel was in the background too, answered a couple for you. Okay, so let me see here. So this one, you know, we had somebody ask about ADUs as well, which is something that's a little bit out of the scope here, and something really Department of Buildings would probably be better answering. But I wonder, it speaks a little bit to this one. What are the options of creating living space above a brick garage on my property? Would putting 2 shipping containers above my garage be allowed?
I have to admit, I don't know, and my guess would be that would not be allowed. Because the Chicago zoning and building code is fairly restrictive for these ADUs and these living units above a garage. My guess would be that adding a couple of shipping containers on top of even if it's a brick garage, I'm not sure that's gonna be able to meet all the codes, you know, these fire requirements for the walls and everything. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, also they're still limited to the 3 pilots or 5 pilot zones in the city. So a lot of places aren't, you know, able to do that either. So
Right.
It's a good question. I thought it was worth at least mentioning, because
Yeah, no.
people are always asking about it. Have you seen or worked on expansion to knee walls to provide either storage or any tucked bed frames?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I didn't show any photos of that, but knee walls are excellent spots for extra storage, shelves, drawers, built-in drawers. Yeah, that's a great use of that space.
So another one, we have a couple people who asked about cost, which I know is really hard to answer. So maybe you can explain, just sort of respond to that a little bit. But, you know, you'd had some designs up on properties you'd worked on. So, you know, we had one person ask what the cost of each of those designs was. And somebody else asked somebody similar. So yeah, I just wonder if you can speak to cost a little bit.
Sure. And I'm going to share my screen again. And see if I can figure out how to get out of my get out of this. I kind of anticipated that a little bit, and it's very difficult to
Hmm.
to estimate cost, especially since the pandemic and supply chain problems. But the thing you referred to that we did for the Bungalow Association, and this was actually, I think, from 2018, and there were some, I thought, good cost information in that, where a second floor addition at that time, 155, almost 200,000, and then cost for the relocated staircase, kitchen, plumbing, electrical, and the kitchen, that's why it's always difficult, because it depends on how much other work is being done. But you can see that this is one example where it's going to be over 200,000, I believe. And this was another one. I don't have these examples. There were two different second floor additions. But I think what I'm getting at is that we're in the 200 plus range, maybe 250. And let's see, this was one for just kind of a dormer addition, which I didn't exactly show, but even that was at that time, 153 to 185. So, I mean, I think, let's see. I don't want to do this. I think that the cost of these things are north of 200,
Yeah.
250.
Yeah, I believe it now.
And that's just what's involved.
Okay, let's see. Okay. What if there currently isn't access to the attic? Few people wanted to know that one.
Currently isn't access, then I don't know how much space that they have up in their attic, but you would just have to create that. You would have to add an opening, add stairs, and try and find the best spot in your floor plan, where you could add some stairs so you could access it.
It's kind of open up that little hatch or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, to expand it.
With the wooden truss structural method, do you have to tear the roof off, or can you add an existing completely unfinished attic? Or can you add to an existing completely unfinished attic? Sorry.
With the wood truss option, you pretty much have to remove that roof in order to get that new structure in. And depending on how the roof rafters are, meeting with the exterior wall, adding the roof trusses, there just really isn't room to fit that in, because they have to bear on either the brick wall or the frame wall on the first floor, and that roof is usually in conflict with it. So the roof would probably have to be removed.
For bungalow attic additions, is it possible sometimes to elongate the stairs to bring them up to code, but to not have to relocate them?
Yes, it is.
Some good news. Great.
Absolutely.
Okay. Can you typically live in your home during construction? Have existing bedrooms and bath? They have existing bedrooms and bath on the second floor, but they want to build a master suite in their current attic / storage area in the back.
And they're planning to use the bedrooms on the second floor in the front part of it?
That would be my guess. Otherwise, seems it would be obviously could stay on the first floor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer. I would say in general, I lean towards not living in your bungalow, when you're doing a major addition, especially if there are spaces that you're using, if they had asked the question where there isn't anything up on the second floor right now, and they just want to do a second floor addition. I did a project once where, you know, the contractor just built kind of a ramp from the backyard. Homeowner was not happy about her garden, but there was a ramp, and they just worked from the outside, and they never interacted with the first floor until it was all done, and then they added the stairs.
Okay, that makes sense. We have another question about cost, but I think we've sort of covered that a bit. We want to get through more. I mean, in general, you know, probably people want to call an architect, have them come out and give them like a bit of a more accurate assessment anyway. So just to say that, because I know a lot of people always want to know about costs, but it's so hard unless you've been out there and know what you're dealing with. So, do you have guidelines or recommendations for finding an architect and vetting them before hiring?
Well, I mean, I think the Bungalow Association has a great list of architects. Some of those architects I know, and they do good work, and you just have to really take the time and talk to several, get a feeling for what it would be like to work with them, see if it's kind of a good fit. Ask for references if you can. I know it takes time, but maybe look at a project or two that an architect has done. And I would say all the same information for a contractor. You know, if you're looking for, it's good to talk to several people, talk to references, look at work they've done, so that you're really comfortable and you feel they're gonna do a good job for you.
Yeah, I think Angela dropped the link. I saw her typing, so she probably was dropping the link for where you can look those things up on our website at chicagobungalow.org. But it's still not like, even though we have at least three recommendations, we make sure that they don't have negative ratings on Google and all these things, but it's still important to hear what they should ask for and what they should expect. So, okay. Can you finish an attic without adding dormers? So just using the existing attic.
Yes, you can. I did one once where they just finished it out and didn't change the roof structure at all.
A little dark, but it can be done.
It's a little dark. Also the layout of the space is kind of limited, because usually you'll kind of end up with a room on one end, a room on the other end. You can always add skylights to rooms in the middle. I find it challenging to add a bathroom upstairs in an attic if you're not adding any dormers. It's just tough, especially, as I mentioned, a lot of times I like to locate the second floor bathroom above the first floor bathroom, and sometimes that's more towards an outside wall. So I sometimes encourage clients that if they don't want to spend a lot of money on dormers, maybe just have a dormer at the bathroom or have a dormer at the stairs or something, and then everything else could be the existing roof structure.
Great. We have a bungalow on one side of us, but a vacant lot adjacent to our home, which we own. So would the vacant lot have no implications on that side of the dormer?
They own that lot. This is a little complicated, because I don't know if it's all one lot. You know, there's a PIN number, a property index number. And if it's two lots, and if they're planning maybe at some time in the future to sell, then they really have to respect that property line. I know you can, I believe you can combine two and make it one, and then you wouldn't have to worry about it. but I would be careful not to build too much or too close and then have something happen later on where it's like, non-conforming and it affects the future sale or something.
Yeah. Are winder stairs normally a practical replacement solution to steep stairs?
Winder stairs help. They can help. In the city of Chicago, there's a limit. You can only have 3 winders. I don't know how many of the people listening to this have winder stairs where there's like 5 winders or something, and they're very narrow. But new stairs are allowed to have 3 winders, should be 36-inch wide, but that can help, yes.
Okay. Maybe take one more of these since we're already at 7:09 and we can wrap up, get everybody on time this evening. Okay, so the pros and cons of a mini split versus a second furnace for heating the attic. We do have a lot of people complaining about temperatures in their attics, so.
The pros and cons of a mini split versus a furnace?
Versus a second furnace.
Versus a second furnace? I think a mini split is just more energy efficient. It's a better it's a better use of energy. It eliminates a lot of duct work if you have a furnace. And I think that a furnace can be a good option, a high efficiency furnace, but I think a mini split with a heat pump is a better investment and a better use of energy.
Agreed, as does our friend Brantley Harris, who also answered that, it looks like. Thanks, Brantley. Okay. Well, Frank again has sort of generously offered to answer any other burning questions you guys might have. Can we put a way to contact you in that follow-up email, Frank? Does that work for you? Okay,
Yeah,
we'll do that. So again, we're sending out an email. Everybody who signed up tonight is going to get an email probably sometime early next week, and it'll have a link to this, which is being recorded. We can have Frank's contact information in there. So you'll have everything you need moving forward. In the meantime, too, if you want to watch this again for any reason, we'll have it on Facebook and on our website. So it's going to be posted up there pretty quickly. So check there as well. Thank you so much, Frank. This was really helpful. Thank you to Manuel in the background as well. But Frank, thanks. And this was really helpful, and learned a ton myself tonight as well. There's always more, I mean, I'm not an architect, but I hang out with you all a lot, and there's always so much more. So have a wonderful night, everybody, and look for that email soon. And we will see you back here in May for our next couple of sessions. Thanks.
Thanks. Good night.